Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and it is Wednesday in the Riv. And we got a lot to talk about today. And so, CJ, you can set the table here.
Well, I mean, we had a couple of things go on the past couple of days. Yesterday, we had the city council forum. They didn't call them debates; they called them forums because they put 9 candidates in each forum because there's 18 candidates on the ballot, and they were able to answer questions. Not a debate at all. I'm not sure how informative that is to the uh, people who watch. The only thing I do know is that Michelle Dion came out of the gates swinging, and she did a wonderful job. And people who don't vote for her, you got to have your brains examined because I mean she obviously knows what she's talking about. So that was one thing. Uh, I believe we have a school committee forum or debate coming up soon. And we also have another mayoral debate at the Our Lady of Light Band Club coming up. That's going to be, I think, next Thursday. So it's going to be interesting because, I mean, even though the election season's winding down, it seems to be winding up around here. Um, and we've seen how the Coogan camp has come out swinging, and it's been very interesting. Uh, I just got a message from Jeff Gaudreau saying that he can't hear us. I know that my mic isn't muted, and I'm quite sure yours isn't muted either. Well, no, yours is muted right now, and that's okay. I'm sorry, Jeff, but it's not on our end; it's on your end. Uh, and there was a Father Kelly Neighborhood Association meeting, and I want to bring back to your memory, I hope, the Maplewood meeting where the police officer said there was 55 shootings. Okay, 55 shootings. Now, at the following meeting that was had after that, the people said that the officer was mistaken and that it was actually less. But the state police confirmed that it was 55 plus shootings. Here is the current police report, and as you can see, there is a police logo on this printout, and these were given out at the Father Kelly Neighborhood Association meeting. And one of them comes out from January 1st to October 10th, which had 40 shootings or shots fired, and on January 1st to October 15th, it had 43 shootings. Now let's go all the way back on this to 2018, according to this report. Okay, and I'm hoping that the numbers don't change anywhere. 2018 they had 45 shots fired. In 2019 they had 32 shots fired. In 2020 they had 28 shots fired. In 2021 they had 47 shots fired. In 2022 they had 30 shots fired. And so far this year they've had 43 shots fired. That all seems to be in the same ballpark. Okay, so that is very interesting to discuss because Paul keeps showing at all the debates these FBI statistics. These are the FBI statistics which show that crime is down in Fall River. According to your own police report, doesn't show crime is down. And people are complaining, and people want to know what the hell is going on and what is the plan of the mayor to curtail this crime and shootings. And then for the police chief to turn around and say, these are selected and targeted shootings. These people have sniper like accuracy. I'm sorry, but I don't think anyone has sniper like accuracy. We talked about that on the last show. Doing this, you're not going to get sniper like accuracy. Okay, let's be real. So, with that, I'll turn it over to you, Chip.
Okay, CJ, look. You know what this is? This is propaganda. You got a police logo on it. You got their numbers. And Coogan is not talking about FBI statistics, okay? And number one, it doesn't matter, 45, 42, 43. This is propaganda. They don't want you to know about crime because they accept us being in the top 10 in crime, okay? You want to see, there's no sources except them, according to this. These are their numbers from the mouth of the man who says police departments routinely manipulate numbers. But they are required to report it to the FBI. So unlike them with their, let's compare Fall River and cherry pick, because I remember 2013 being reported. But then what they didn't report was the years, those are the years that there was crime here, maybe at about the same pace it is today. But then Will Flanagan and then DA Sam Sutter implemented, as you said, a plan, that word that's almost, but not quite, as offensive to the politicians of Fall River as a forensic audit. Almost, though. A plan, because Paul never had a plan. Paulie, no plan. Nothing preemptive. The police department didn't have a plan. Then he also talked about 18 and 19, and that's when this held. Crime down. They didn't put the year when that was posted to show that two mayors, Flanagan and Correa, both looked at crime, said it's not acceptable in the city of Fall River, and had a plan. Because Paulie doesn't want you to remember he's done absolutely nothing about anything, and he's never kept a promise. I'm going to be transparent. The Herald News had to go to court to get information. We've never gotten the full information on anything in his entire tenure as mayor. I'm going to be honest. You're not honest when you send an illegal letter to the city council, which we covered a few shows ago, knowingly violating the law one of many times. So I'm going to give you statistics that I didn't make up like they did, and they're based on somebody else who actually does research and does data. And I'm not going to say, I'll explain this. So, okay, here's this little page. You'll see Fall River is number 2, and that is for 2021, the 25 most dangerous cities. This is the headings. I have number 1, the 10 most dangerous cities in Massachusetts, 2023 update, 2022 also we were the same. Number 1, Fall River, House Grail. They use FBI databases. Then I have another source. You see, because we're fair. We're not going to say we're always not. No, because all these places, they actually make it, they analyze it based on different data, because people don't understand. When you get if you had a tiny small town, these are based on a ratio. So if you get 2 rapes in a community that's extremely small, that could push you way up to the top, because this is the way the data is interpreted. So the next one I have says, here are the 10 most dangerous towns in Massachusetts to live in. And this is what it says. Okay? And you can Google all this and try to find some place where Fall River is in the bottom 10 in crime, not the top 10. We've considered the most recent FBI crime report and the Home Security Shield's crime data to create this list of the most dangerous cities in Massachusetts. Fall River is number 4 on this one. And it says, your chance of being a victim of crime in Fall River is 1 in 25. So every person in Fall River, for every 25 people, somebody will get a crime perpetrated on them. And then this last one that I showed you was going all the way back to 2021 when we were number 2. So I've got number 1, number 4, number 2, all in the top 10. All in the top 10. And I know that Linda Pereira was holding up this garbage yesterday at the thing going, oh, look at these numbers, look at these numbers, look at these numbers. Okay, Linda, you've had your butt in that seat for a very long time. So what are you saying to the people of Fall River? You're good if we get down to number 7 or number 8 in the entire state of Massachusetts? 351 cities and towns in this state. And we have leaders in this community that think it's acceptable just if we're not number 1 or 2. Oh, we're doing great. You're not doing great. Because at least these other mayors tried. You didn't try. You haven't tried a lick. There's no plan. Even from the police department, we talked about post-incident stuff. That means after it happens. Where is the proactive, preemptive thing? Where's the plan for that? You can't, what is that, some new idea? No, it's not a new idea. New York City is now again probably the most dangerous city. Oh, they're competing with Chicago and LA and a whole bunch of other blue cities. But the reality is, New York was the most dangerous city in the United States for years. Rudy Giuliani took over. He implemented the broken windows policy where they did not allow even minor crimes. They said if you let the small crimes go, the big crimes begin to occur more often. And he was right. He turned New York City into the safest big city in the United States with that program. You know why? He had a plan. This is all deflection, smoke and mirrors to take you away from one very, very simple fact. Now they're focusing on crime because they can manipulate numbers and tell you something in a little tiny window. They're going to point to the tree in the forest. Look at this tree. Isn't this tree beautiful? Look at the leaves on this tree. It's a wonderful tree. But don't look at all the other trees that have no leaves on them and they're all rotting. Because crime is a major problem in Fall River. Oh, and it has been for your entire term. And being in the top 10 is not acceptable to the people of Fall River. It should not be acceptable to the people in Fall River. But now we're not talking about the other stuff that Paul did, like promising a tax break, and instead you got a tax increase. Running this city with fiduciary responsibility, which he hasn't. Being transparent, which he hasn't. Totally disregarding people that are being forced out of their homes and saying, well, some people are going to get displaced. Paul, they're very good at this. I'll give them credit. They're very good at directing a narrative. Then you got your little minions. I feel safe. I feel safe. Well, you can feel safe all you want. You're not safe. When you become that 1 in 25 that gets a crime perpetrated on you, we'll ask you that question again. Because I don't know how some people have such a convoluted perspective of reality. And I saw that again this morning. It's totally unrelated, but it is related to our specifics. But it is related about thought process. This morning I saw that the LGBTQ plus, and I may have left out a letter, but we know the segment of the population. They had signs supporting Hamas and the tragedies and terrorist activity, beheading babies, burning babies, shooting old people. They support Hamas. Do you realize how ridiculous that is, and shows they don't have a brain in their head? They're supporting a group of religious fanatics who, if they went anywhere near their country, they would be murdered and executed and burnt and had their heads chopped off too. Because in those countries, any one of those alternative lifestyles is punishable by death. You tell me how people can look you in the face and saying they're actually thinking critically. And this is what they did. And look, he's got a good campaign. He's got the Biden thing down pat. Hide, talk about BS, and just ignore the realities of what you've done. But these statistics that I got, and I was fair. I didn't say Florida was number one. Yeah, you can go, but we're always at the top. You know what we're not at the top at? Education. We were 335th last year. Now we're 336th. This is the problem. And I know I went on a rant, CJ, but I mean, this stuff really irritates the living crap out of me. So back to you.
What I think is interesting is that there's extremists on all sides, okay? And I saw on TV Palestinians attacking Brown University and Harvard, and because they're not going to support Israel. I've seen in this country Palestinians and Israelites going at each other on the street. So this is a hot button issue, and a lot of people are going to be offended no matter which side you take. And it's very difficult for people to understand that we have to take a side that is affirmative of life, affirmative of respect. Now, what was interesting was on NBC News last night, Ted Yamas had an interview with an Israelite and a Palestinian in Jerusalem. And he asked the Palestinians, would you talk to an Israelite? And he said, I would always talk to an Israelite, but not now. The tensions are too high, which I can understand. He's right. And they asked the Israelite the same question, and she turned around and she said, they need to stop the aggression first. They need to be on top of this. They need to be fair. Let them stop the aggression, and then we can talk. We can be fair with each other. Peace is going to come around when you work together. And they both said the same thing. So these are regular, everyday people who know what the hell to do, but our leaders in these countries have no clue what they're doing because the people aren't happy with it. And that's a problem. And Chip, you are very familiar with this type of bull because you were in the military. You were in special forces. You had to generate the support from the people. And it was hard to do sometimes, but you were able to accomplish it because by that you were able to take over corruption, governments that were corrupt. So it's very interesting to see what people want to hear.
Well, CJ, let me tell you, this is the problem. And obviously, I have a little bit more knowledge of what's going on in the Middle East because I'm extremely familiar with the culture. As most of you know, that my mother is of Lebanese descent. She was born in this country, went back as a child, and came back here to the United States when she was 13. She lived in Lebanon for a long time, and she's a Christian, and the Christians are being persecuted by the Muslims. See, the problem we have here is all they're doing is now they're talking about Israel, but let's remember something. This is not a question of the two, because extremism in either side is no good. But here is a reality. You have people going on TV saying it was totally okay. This is a question about humanity. This is a question about morality. This is a question of who can say it's okay to behead babies or burn them to death and shoot old people. Gandhi once said a society can be judged by the way it treats its weakest. You can't condone what Hamas did. And Hamas is very vocal about the fact that there can never be peace in the Middle East because it's their objective to kill every Jew, eradicate them from the planet. And this is the problem. This is what makes this such a tremendously difficult thing, and it probably will never be peace in the Middle East. Because the reality is, now Israel said, okay, you want to eradicate us? The only way we can do it is go in after what you did to civilians and innocents and eradicate you. Because because every time they do this, and then they tell Israel, "Oh, back off! You've controlled the situation. Let's stop." Then they're going to go. Then Hamas will rebuild, and we'll do this again. I'm not saying they're right, but the reality is, let's face what their reality is. Israel is facing an enemy that doesn't want to ever make peace, doesn't want them to exist, and they're going to kill them. So now Israel's taken that position that, okay, you want to eradicate us from the face of the earth, we will eradicate you from the face of the earth. Is it right? No, but the reality is, are people evil? Yeah, there are a lot of evil people in the world, and to me, people who have who interpret a religion, because I don't believe, I actually have read the Quran. And like the Bible, everybody has a different interpretation of the Bible. The Jehovah's Witnesses have a different interpretation of the Bible than the Lutherans. But the radical extremists in the Muslim faith interpret the Quran as saying they have to have a jihad to basically kill everybody who's not a Muslim. Either make them a Muslim or kill them. So, again, this is just, it's horrifying to Americans. But, when we have Americans saying that it was okay, and we did have people demonstrating say it was okay. We had people over in, I forgot what country it was, but I think it may have been in Europe. No, I think it was Australia. I apologize. It was Australia. They had a big demonstration and they were yelling, "Gas the Jews, gas the Jews, gas the Jews." When you do that, it shows you don't really have a moral compass. You don't even have a soul. And that's the problem. So with that, obviously I have I am extremely engaged in this issue because I still have relatives who live in Lebanon. So it's very personal to me, and they are Christians. And the Muslims that have moved into to Lebanon and taken it over are persecuting the Christians, because when they get done with the Jews, they'll start on the Christians. And that is a reality. The reality is Lebanon was created for the Christians, for the Maronite rite, for the people who were Christians. When my mother came back from Lebanon in 1923, her papers said port of embarkation, because they took a boat up to Ellis Island. It said port of embarkation, Beirut, Syria, not Lebanon, because Lebanon wasn't even a country in 23. It wasn't a country till 29. Lebanon was created for the Christians, and the Muslims have now taken it over. Hamas, Hezbollah have taken it over. It's a horrifying thing to be over there now, and it's horrifying. Unfortunately, the reality of peace, because people are fundamentally good, to me, is a pipe dream. We can only have peace by strength. When people know there'll be consequences for things that they do, like what Hamas did to those innocent children and elderly. And now, like I said, I don't know what they're going to do. I just, but humanity, unfortunately, has a difficulty prevailing, and I'm being philosophical now, but the reality is that humanity never prevails because the evil are always willing to do things that people who aren't evil won't do, and they ultimately always start something when that shouldn't be started, and that's what's going on over there. So I know we digress, but you know something. Frankly, it upsets me when I see people condoning it from either side. I know the Israelis have told the Palestinians who are not Hamas to leave the city, and Hamas is keeping them there. So it's a very, very complex issue, and to oversimplify it is an injustice, and this is the reason that politicians will not solve this, because they oversimplify everything. And with that, CJ, you can have the flow.
Well, the interesting thing is that Israel is on three sides surrounded by, religious enemies. You have Hezbollah coming out of Lebanon, which is supported by Iran. You have the Islamic jihadists coming at them, and then you've got Hamas coming out of the Gaza Strip. And now we're already seeing the blame being pointed, the fingers being pointed at everyone else. For instance, the missile that hit the Gaza hospital yesterday, and the Hamas is saying that the Israelites did it. The Israelites are saying no, it was a missile that got taken off course from the Islamic jihadists. Everyone's blaming everyone else for it because nobody wants to take on the fact that they attacked a civilian medical center, because under the rules of law, or what should be the rules of law, you're not supposed to attack first aid. You're not supposed to attack hospitals. But as we see, sometimes the rules of war don't apply, and nobody cares. That's why we have special forces, so that we have a rule of law that prevails in most cases. But again, like you said, we digressed. It's interesting to see though that we have such, we didn't have a lot of comments today about what's going on, except for this one, which I have to put back up, from Danny Robillard. Dan, it's always a pleasure to see you. Education, poor crime, high drugs, raging in the city. Well, Danny Robillard says it well. And Danny lives down in that area that Sam brought up about the homeless and the drug addicts being in the garage, and the homeless being, walking into his office. It doesn't make it easy when you're downtown across from the courthouse. But it is what it is. But I don't want to hear anymore from people that, Sam is a parachuting in guy. He wasn't around. He's been around. You just haven't seen him. I've been around. Chip has been around. And a lot of times we do get spotted in the markets and, at government center and other places. But most of the time you don't see us. Why? Because when you do your good deeds, you do them in private. That's the way it's supposed to be. The Bible says, do your good deeds in private, and the Lord shall reward you publicly. That's the way it should be. So hopefully people can understand that.
Well,
Well,
let me just quickly get something in a note. We're actually going to be almost on time at this show, but no, you're right, and that's another political con. Sam hasn't been around. Yes, he's been around. He's been making a living. The reality is he's got to work. If you want to see what Sam would do as a mayor, you have to elect him the mayor. What do you expect him to be, Paul? You expect him to do your job when he's got to? He was doing his job. He was going to court every day, or most days, and earning a living, just like we all were. You can't expect them to, you're the guy that said you were going to be transparent. You're the guy that said you were going to be honest. You're the guy that said you were going to run this city well. And the people now, you're saying, where was he? Well, he was doing what he had to do. But you haven't done what you had to do. And I will close by saying, we talked about the other stuff in reality, and people like to be optimistic, but the reality is, I'll leave you with the Special Forces motto, not the Special Forces. Our motto was the oppresso liber, to free the oppressed. That's the Green Beret motto. The special operations, totality is SEALs, Rangers, Special Forces, uh, Marine Recon, uh, the special operations branches of the military. Theirs is George Orwell's quote: people sleep peacefully in their beds at night because rough men stand ready to do violence on their behalf. And that's an unfortunate reality of the world we live in. And I hope that peace comes to the Middle East. And nobody hopes more than I do that it does. But this is a very, very serious thing. And we have to now, the only thing we can do now is try to fix our little piece of the world, Fall River. So let's everybody get out to vote and vote for people who will do the job for you, because the job is not getting done. Only Michelle Dion, I'm glad she had a great performance, and because she deserves it. And if anyone deserves to be reelected, it's Michelle Dion. But I've been straight. Our mayor has not earned the right for another term. With that, CJ, wrap it up.
No problem there. I want to let the people know the mail-in ballots have gone out. I received mine yesterday and sent it back right away. I will say that not one incumbent received a vote from me. Not one. Okay. And on the school committee side, I didn't vote all 6. I only voted for 5 because the others I couldn't support. And if you were a previous elected official and you're running for reelection, I didn't vote for you. So, I mean, that's the baseline of that. Make sure you get your ballots in because during the primary, we had half of the mail in ballots not be returned. And that is a poor, poor, poor showing. We need better than that. And I'm hoping that we can have a good turnout. I mean, if we had a 70% turnout, I think my head would blow up. But I want to see better than 12%. I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Friday. Have a great day.